what would happen if Bitcoin suddenly collapsed? Not just a 20% dip, I mean a full-on 99% crash, gone. As a big investor myself, I often wonder about this question. All the people, all the banks, all the companies with millions invested into Bitcoin, what if it all collapses right after I buy it? So let's analyze this hypothetical scenario and maybe I can sleep better at night. Right now, Bitcoin is chilling at a casual $105,000 per coin, marking a total market cap of over $2 trillion. The crash we're talking about would leave Bitcoin at like $1 per coin or less. The crash could happen for a few reasons, like the US government banning it fully, for example, or maybe some massive technical flaw is discovered and the whole Bitcoin system becomes useless overnight. You'd think if $2 trillion suddenly vanished, the world economy would fall apart, right? That's like the entire economy of Brazil, gone overnight. But here's the thing, $2 trillion wouldn't actually disappear from the world economy. When someone says they have $100,000 in Bitcoin, what they really mean is at today's price, their Bitcoin can be sold for $100,000. But that's not real money in the bank, it's only wealth on paper. To explain this concept better, I've brought in an expert. Me. Paper wealth means that someone has a lot of money tied up in a stock, bond or cryptocurrency. A person doesn't have a lot of money in the bank, they just own a lot of whatever asset that can be sold for a lot of money at today's price. They can go to the bank and say, look, I own 200 shares of Tesla which are worth $300 each, to which the bank will tell you no, they're actually worth $2 now because Elon Musk posted some frog meme on Twitter. All the billionaires in the world are just wealthy on paper. They own stocks of companies which are worth a lot, but they don't have billions in cash in the bank. Some of the most famous billionaires like Mr. even say they have no cash at all and have to borrow from other people just to afford food. Anyways, the point being, if Bitcoin crashes from $100,000 to $1, the people didn't lose any money in the bank they had. They lost the potential to sell their Bitcoin at a higher price. They can still sell at $1 and maybe someone buys it from them. But that $100,000, that money was never fully real unless they sold it before the fall. Now here's the other part. When people do sell their Bitcoin, they're not just clicking a button and money appears in their account. Every sell also has a buyer on the other side. When prices fall really fast, it's not just numbers going down on the screen. It's people trying to sell their Bitcoin, but no one wants to buy it from them at that price, so the sellers are forced to lower their price again and again until someone finally agrees to buy it. That's what a crash really is. Some people panic and sell at a loss, while others buy Bitcoin for cheap, praying it'll go back up in the future. This also means that the cash people are getting out of Bitcoin as it is going down, it doesn't just evaporate. That is now real money in the hands of investors and it will flow somewhere else. It might move into dollars and be kept in the bank, or it could go into stocks, gold, real estate, or even other crypto assets. Even in a crash, the money that does get pulled out, it doesn't leave the economy, just find somewhere else to go. Problem is that not everyone gets to cash out. Many people are left holding some internet points that no longer hold any value. So if Bitcoin collapses, it's not that the world loses billions in real dollars overnight, it's that the imagined value of Bitcoin goes to zero. The biggest and most obvious victims of this crash would be the investors, people who have their entire life savings in Bitcoin, the companies who have been buying Bitcoin in mass numbers, or even some countries like El Salvador who have tied parts of their economy to Bitcoin. They would be the most affected. The crash would set off a huge panic across the world financial markets, and all the stock markets in the world would enter a massive freefall. Just imagine, during the 2024 August flash crash, when people thought the Japanese carry trade had been patched, the S&P dropped 5% in a matter of hours. A global sell-off worth about $6.5 trillion happened on Monday, all triggered by panic over an exploit worth maybe $1 trillion max, according to ChatGPT. The Japanese central bank immediately went back to the zero interest rate policy and the markets recovered within a week. But just imagine the panic this would cause if Bitcoin, worth $2 trillion, actually vanished. The whole Japanese carry trade thing wasn't even a crash, it was just a sell-off from investors going to repay their debts to Japan, and it still caused a sell-off 6 times as big as the total value of the entire Japanese trade. If Bitcoin dropped to zero and the panic was as moderate as the one from August 2024, this would still mean a $12 trillion sell-off, which is around a quarter of the entire S&P 500 market cap. And that's considering that the panic was moderate. If people start panicking a lot more, we could see a 30, 40 or even 50% drop in the S&P 500. It would affect every sector, but mostly those related with tech, crypto and decentralized finance. It's very likely that the entire crypto ecosystem would collapse along with Bitcoin, which would add another $1 trillion sell-off. And you know they say history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Well, this crash would likely resemble the dot-com bubble of the 2000s, when people were investing heavily in internet-related companies and many of these companies had no profit or any real business model. The people were just buying the stocks of shitty companies just because they were somehow related to this whole new internet thing, and they were pushing their valuation to hundreds of millions. When the bubble burst and people realized that these companies were shit, they went bust, and all the tech companies fell with them. Even the real ones, even the ones that were sort of good. The entire Nasdaq index fell around 80%, which are blue chip stocks like Intel, Oracle, and Cisco. Many companies did not survive the crash at all, but, and this is important, the internet itself didn't die. In fact, it kept growing. The bubble popped, but the idea behind it was real. If Bitcoin were to fall overnight, it would ask a serious question to the world. Is the whole crypto idea real or not? If the answer is yes, Bitcoin would collapse, but the technology behind it would survive. And maybe this collapse clears out shitcoins like Ethereum or Solana and allows better ideas to grow in the future. If the answer is no, well, then the entire idea of crypto was fake anyways, and it was meant to pop eventually. This crash wouldn't be as bad as the 2008 housing crisis, because Bitcoin isn't that deeply linked to daily life as commercial banks were in 2008, at least not yet. Most people don't get paid in Bitcoin and they don't buy groceries with it, so a collapse wouldn't drag down everything, just a part of the financial world. In the short term, a collapse would cause massive losses and lots of panic. But in the long term, the economy would just recover. Some people would stop trusting crypto altogether, and some countries would tighten the rules around it. But everyday life, jobs, food, rent, it wouldn't change that much. As long as the economy keeps functioning and we continue to live in a world where capitalism exists and we get to benefit from a system where currency is exchanged for goods and services, we will be fine. I just keep going back to the classics because there's this saying in Sun Tzu, The Art of War, where he says, "Don't invest all your life savings into degenerate, worthless meme coins that don't hold any real-world use case or don't provide any meaningful economic activity. You fool. You idiot." But what would I know? I'm just some guy making a YouTube video, bruh. But just like every bubble in history, it would leave behind winners, losers, and another lesson that we will probably ignore in the future anyways.